So, welcome to Middle Fingers Up. I'm your host, Kieran. Okay, and today's guest, I want to talk about this. Today's guest is someone, I guess I found the modern way, you don't bump into people in grocery stores anymore. You bump into people through Instagram Reels, and this is how I discovered this lovely person. But this one particular reel, it did the thing, makes you pause, made me laugh, made me send it to my girls group chat. But then afterwards, it was like, oh, okay. Something is happening here. There's something more here. So it made me brave, made me reach out to him, and I appreciate that he responded so quickly as well. Very open, very kind, very genuine, down to having a real conversation. And you know how we love those kinds of conversations here. So today I'm talking to Shawn Ahmed. He and I jumped on a video consult just to talk a little bit about the process of this recording today. His energy was exactly that chill, that thoughtful, easy to talk to. And then somewhere halfway, my armpits started sweating and I was like, oh shit, he's kind of a bigger deal than I thought he was. And so I had to manage my being in, but not in an intimidating way, not in a loud way, just that feeling of like sitting across from someone who's quietly doing really meaningful things. And that's the stuff we're going to talk about today. Shawn is a South Asian Canadian actor. He's a producer. He does a lot of work in the background. He's got a lot of talent. His work spans from comedy, drama, everything in between. And what really, really drew me, if I haven't already convinced you all, is how his work speaks to people like us, those of us in the in-between that are born in the Western world, come from either immigrant or parents of color. And we're just trying to figure out how to balance that in-between where we fit in those different worlds in our own kind of way. And I appreciate that there's a lot of us out there that are figuring that stuff out. And so in this episode, we're going to talk about those in-betweens. We're going to talk about Shawn's creative process, the work that he's doing, what he's learning from it. And maybe we'll get some tidbits on things and stuff in the creative arts world. So excited to have you today, Shawn. Thank you for being here. Anything that you want to say about your intro that I didn't say or you want to say, I also want to include this thing about me.
Oh, no, I think that was pretty great. Thank you. That was very kind. Appreciate it.
Oh, well, you're so kind. Happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let's do it. Let's talk about it. So a question that I always like to start with, well, I feel like I've made it a trend, is I want to get in a little time machine. And before we do anything, before the acting, before the Instagram, before all of it, I want to go back in this time machine and learn a little bit about little Shawn. And so I want to ask you, my youngest son just turned 12. So let's pick the age 12. Mm-hmm. What was 12-year-old Shawn like? Who, if we were to meet him, what are the things that we would see, the conversations that we would have? What was he obsessed with? What was he trying to figure out? Those kinds of things. Tell us about 12-year-old Shawn.
12-year-old Shawn was a very excitable child, I would say. I played a lot. I was obsessed with hockey at that time. I was playing competitive hockey on a team and traveling around with the team playing. And at that point, I think around 12, because I was around Pee-wee, I still wanted to be like a professional hockey player. Those were my childhood ambitions. But at that point, I was also learning that I was not nearly good enough or big enough to play because I was super undersized. We had just introduced contact at that point, and I was, for lack of better words, getting the shit knocked out of me every game. So my dreams of playing in the NHL were shattering slowly. And I was like, I was thinking about what else I was going to do. And I always wanted to start a business, and I was very entrepreneurial. I think at that time I was starting to get I had a paper route, and I was raking leaves for people in the neighborhood for like $1 a bag and shoveling snow. And I was always kind of in that space. And I was just starting to learn about arts and performance and starting to do that kind of stuff in school and starting to find a kind of a taste for it there. Yeah.
So do you have like a favorite hockey team then?
I'm a diehard Maple Leafs fan.
Okay, that makes sense.
Unfortunately,
You're
for
from
myself and our
that.
entire fandom.
No, I'm from BC. I'm a Canucks fan. I've lived in
Yeah.
Calgary for longer now, I guess, than I did growing up in BC, but I'll always be diehard Canucks. So
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. Absolutely. Favorite players growing up? Any that you looked up to?
Yeah, I really loved Matt Sundin. He was the captain of the
Yeah.
Leafs. I love Doug Gilmour and Wendell Clark. Those were players that I kind of really started. That's when I first started watching hockey. It was like their playoff runs, cup runs that they went on. And I don't know, yeah, those are probably, I like Alexander McGillney a lot.
Yeah.
Curtis Joseph. Yeah.
Cujo.
Yeah.
I always tell people I grew up in a home where my dad would make me memorize the Canucks numbers and names. Like hockey was very important in my childhood. And so I'd have to like always after school, that's what he would make us do. So it's so funny, like how my kid now plays hockey, and they made a little cheat sheet that I keep in my jacket, and I've like memorized all the kids' numbers and names.
Nice.
So I'm like, oh, look, it's like showing up now. It's like funny.
There you
So
go.
I can appreciate the love for hockey,
Yeah.
especially those of us growing up here in Canada.
Actually, one of my favorite players was a Canucks. It was Pavel Bure. Just because
Oh
he was
yeah,
so
Pavel
different
Bure.
than any.
Yes.
When he showed up, everyone was like, "Who is this guy? Why is
Yeah,
he so much faster than everyone?"
Yeah, he was one of the best
Yeah,
for sure. He was
really was.
great. What did home feel like for you growing up?
Yeah, home was we lived, we're middle class suburban life in Scarborough, which is just a borough of Toronto. I have an older brother and an older sister. They're 10 and 8 years older than me, so there's a bit of a gap. So
Oh,
at that time they were like leaving the nest. They had gone to university and were starting their lives. And so around that time I was like starting to go from like, oh, I live in a family with 5 people to like, oh, I'm kind of an only child all of a
yeah,
sudden.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's literally my growing up. I'm the oldest, and then my sister and my brother is 10 years younger. So same
Yeah.
thing. We were like both 10 and 7 when he was born. So yeah, it's interesting when the olders leave,
Yeah.
and like how that works out being in the home alone with the family. And what about like, so you want to be a professional hockey player, and then you're starting to figure out the arts world. And so what did you learn early on about what was acceptable to want as a little guy growing up?
Well, I think it was always like I grew up like my especially my father, like it's a very rational household. Like it was very logical. Academic success was prized and supported and encouraged. So those were things you strive for in a lot of ways. But they never really held me back from trying different things. Like they never quite understood it. But I think in a way now when I reflect back on it, I think, and this continued later in my artistic journey as well, I think they trusted themselves as parents enough to say, hey, whatever he's deciding, we've given him the tools to make decisions. So we have to trust that he's going to make the right decisions. So oftentimes they wouldn't understand, like, why am I driving you to a singing lesson on a Saturday morning at 9:30? I don't understand. But
Yeah.
you really want to do this. And, I was always given like, we didn't have a lot, but we also didn't grow up in a world where we had nothing compared to a lot of people. So I was very lucky that way and very privileged that way. So like I was always given like one activity that I was allowed to do. So I was either playing hockey, and when I stopped playing hockey, I was allowed to take singing lessons. And if I wasn't doing that, then I was allowed to do this. Like once a week, I was allowed to do a thing that my parents would like schlep me over to and encourage. And then also I was working because I started all my part-time jobs when I was really young. I was like paying for a lot of it myself because I was like, well, that was like financial independence was also very prized in my family. So it was like at an early age, I was taught like if you make your own money, you can make your own decisions as well.
Yeah. I love that. I love the balance of that. And I think that's a message for like those of us that are parents or want to be parents at some point too. It's like teaching our kids stability about, like education's important and these sorts of things are important, but also not letting go of the joys and the hobbies and the fun. And I think we have to grow up so fast, some of us faster than others. And I think kids are so good at figuring out that imagination, that creative space. And if we can hold on to that as long as we can, we're not dying for it as grown-ups. And, like it kind of develops with us if it's possible. But there's many adults that I talk to that are like, doing the thing, doing the job, doing the life, doing everything they got to do. And then they're like, oh, I really loved art. I loved painting. I loved singing. I loved these sorts of things, sewing, all that. And I don't do it. And so it becomes almost risky and scary to want to go get back into something that was
Yeah.
such a big part of your identity growing up. So it's cool that your parents were like, I don't get it, but I do get it, but I'm going to get up and support you and drive you and, you know, reduce some of those barriers if I can along the way. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I don't think they ever thought at the time, like, oh, this is going to be his profession. I don't
Yeah.
think they ever were thinking that way. I think they were thinking, like, these are good skills. He should be doing so. He should be engaged in something.
Yeah.
And if he likes to do that, that's a good thing he should be doing.
Yeah.
But they were also forcing me in things. Like I was forced to take Urdu classes.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, but I had to. Like, so there were also things that they were like math classes. I had to go to those. I wasn't, so it was like, there was always a balance of those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the intention was always like, oh, he's going to go off and do, like, I always had a business mind. It always felt like I was going to start a business somewhere. And up until like university, that's what it always felt, where I always felt like I was going. So they were always happy to support whatever put the pieces together to get me there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you know then at a young age when you were going to singing and doing some of this arts creative stuff that is a path you were going to take? Or did you figure that out later or stumble upon it? Like, how did you learn, oh, this is what I'm going to choose to do?
Yeah, I went back and forth on it actually. At first, I think it was just like a pie in the sky. It was just a dream. Like it was just like, oh, this would be amazing if I could do this. And I was lucky to have an older sister who was like she's an on-camera journalist, so she was working in front of the camera, so she understood some of that world. She was starting to like appreciate that world. So I was able to see someone in my sphere that was kind of doing it. Yeah. And also she was like encouraging me and supporting me and kind of saying like, it doesn't matter, like you can do it. Like you want to find an agent, let's find you an agent. Where at like 15 or 16, I would have no tools to find those things and no idea on how to do it. But I had this person who was, you know, showing a lot of care and love for me, being like, I can help you. Oh, look on the back of this paper, there's agents here. Like we can call these people and we can go and interview and I'll take you and all that stuff. So I had that, which was really nice. I went to an art school for high school. So it was like the musical Fame. You have to audition to get into the school. It's called Wexford School of the Arts. It's here in Scarborough. And a teacher of mine before I went to high school just kind of put me onto it. My grade 4 teacher, actually, Miss Pisani, came to me in the halls one day and she was like, you're applying for high schools. I was like, yeah. And she was like, you should apply for Wexford. And she was like, you know, I directed you in this production of Grease we did a couple of years ago. And she's like, I think you'd be really good at it. You should stay with that. Like, try it. So just on a whim, I auditioned. I got in. And then once I got into the school, I started to take it a little more seriously. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is a really fun thing to do. And I really enjoy it. Unfortunately, while I was in the school, I came to terms with the fact that I probably wasn't going to work in the arts. I think it was just a bit of a reality check and looking around and going, oh, I'm not as talented as the people around me. There's not a lot of roles for people that look like me. Like even in a high school musical situation where, you know, colorblind casting and stuff had not really been introduced, it was very hard to see myself in these like musicals that were written in the 60s and 70s that we were doing. I was just constantly in the chorus or I was dancing or whatever it was. Luckily, I got I did one sketch, I think once, and a producer from CBC was in the audience, and she ended up hiring me for a show called Road Scholars, which I went and did, which was like, this is way before like reality TV, but like I basically was sent to Wyoming to join a rock climbing camp of like kids that were traveling around Wyoming and like going to canyons and camping and then like climbing during the days. And I had a camera the entire time and I just filmed the whole thing. And then like YTV and they had this for like different places, like skiing in the Swiss Alps or so on and so forth. So I did that, and that got me a professional agent in Toronto. So I started auditioning for stuff, and I kind of was like, oh, this is fun. I can do this. But truthfully, by the end, I was like, this is not for me. Like, I'm going to follow the path that I think I'm supposed to be on, which is I went and did economics at U of T. I was going to, you know, possibly take accounting. And I was like, let me figure that out. And it just so happened that because I went to U of T and I was staying in Toronto, my agent at the time was like, I can still send you out for auditions. Maybe you can make some money, like do some commercials or something. And I thought, oh, that sounds nice. Maybe get to make some pocket change. So I stuck with it. And in my second year of university, I booked a role in a film, which was a big deal at the time for me because it meant they traveled me to Vancouver for 3 weeks. They put me up in a really fancy hotel. And it was like, I really got to make a film. Yeah. And I remember on the flight back thinking like, oh man, if I can do this for the rest of my life, like that's what I want. So I spent at that point I was in my second year of university. I spent the next 4 years finishing my last 2 years. So I just did part-time school and I like threw myself into the acting and performance industry and entertainment world.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And like you've had cheerleaders along the way. If it wasn't your sister or your teacher or even this agent, like people saw something in you that maybe you had to kind of grow into to see yourself too. And so that's really cool to have people helping you pave the way, or at least saying like,
Yeah.
stick with it, try it, let's just see what happens. And I love that. I love, it's like huge shout outs to those people for,
100%.
especially when it's a creative world, because often many of us, and it's not just like in our own BIPOC community, but just like in general, it's such a wishy-washy world to be in. And so people like, oh, you're not going to make money, or that's just for fun, or high school or what. So to
Yeah.
have people along the way be like, dude, like keep going, keep going. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Were there moments when maybe even now, like, are there moments where you feel like sometimes a script doesn't exist for someone like you? And if so, like, how do you manage that?
Um, yeah, I would say so for sure. There's scripts that don't exist for me. I mean, I say that, but not in the sense only that like, oh, scripts don't exist for me as a South Asian that grew up in Canada. There's lots of parts of me that I'm like, oh, that script doesn't exist yet. That script doesn't exist yet. These aren't obstacles for me. These are just things that I think I can help change, because I also have the producer brain and I love producing. And part of that is that you have a lot more agency when you produce, because you're at a part when you start the project and you get to decide what it's going to look like, who's going to be a part of it. So those are just great lights to move toward, where you're like, oh, that doesn't exist yet. Maybe I can help make it. Maybe I can help be the one that helps bring the right people together that makes that work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you approach creating in a way that feels real, genuine, like authentic? That's the buzzword these days,
Right.
to you.
I just let my taste guide it. If it makes me laugh, that's good enough. If it makes me think about something, that's good enough. If it's something that I've been maybe ruminating on, like an idea or a thought or a piece of my family or something that I'm like, oh, this is something I've been thinking about a lot, usually without trying, it's going to start to open up in a way where I'm like, oh, that could actually be connected to this type of story. Oh, that would be a really cool horror film. Like, oh, that would be a really great comedy. Oh, yeah. Like I'm always kind of, it's the blessing and curse of doing something you love. You can't stop thinking about it. So no matter what happens, I'm always just like in my head, I'm like, oh, that could be that. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, you'd have to go to that place to get funding. And then you have to put it together with this type of director. Oh, but then you can, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. It's like a
that's kind of
puzzle
how.
you're putting together. It all
Yeah, so
seems.
it's always different. Sometimes it's someone brings an idea to me and they go, oh, I have this idea. And I go, oh, that's a really amazing idea. And then, especially now, especially the last few years, the practicality of making something comes into play, where it's not just like good ideas anymore. It's like good ideas have to meet opportunity and reality of getting funding, and because things cost money to make. It's just the reality of it.
When performing, writing, working behind the scenes, wherever it is that you're doing, like, what are you keeping in mind? You, audience, like, how do you, what kind of guides that for you? And that's always on your mind. Is there someone or something or a certain kind of audience you have in mind, or
Yes,
feeling or something?
yes, definitely. Actually, connected somewhat to the last answer I gave. It's a little bit of my taste. Like I think I have great taste, because the things that I think make me laugh make
I
me
love
laugh.
that.
And that's fair. Everyone has their own taste. So part of it is just me doing things that excite me personally. But in terms of finding an audience, yes, like you have to look at a project. That's part of the practicality of it. You have to look at a project and go, who is actually going to watch this? Who is this for? Because not everything is for everyone. And oftentimes the most interesting projects are a little more niche, speak to a little more of a specific subset of society, and that's great. So then you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to identify who those people are? How do I relate to them? Usually in some way I have to be connected to it to understand who they are, to make art for them. And you give yourself over to that. I think in a lot of ways you make art, once you know your audience, you go, okay, I'm making this for them. I know who I'm making this for. So anytime there's like a fork in the road creatively, oh, do I use this joke or do I use this joke? Do I use this or this? It's usually, you trace it back and you go, okay, well, what would the audience appreciate more at this point? And that can sometimes be like the deciding factor on two things that you look at and go, oh, these are both objectively strong ideas, but I can only choose one. I think the audience, this would actually resonate with them more. So yeah.
So then, have there been moments, whether it's like comedy or just artistic sort of decisions, that have surprised you by landing different than you expected? And that could be good or bad, but like, just, I didn't expect it to go this way, and then it's landed different.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, I
all the
just the
time.
yeah. I was like,
All
okay.
the time. I'm constantly surprised by what audiences find amusing, what they resonate with. Like, I can only guess. I can only guess at what people want and use what I like and kind of feed that through. I'm trying to think of a really good example. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so doing a play, for example, when I was, okay, so right before COVID, I was in Edmonton doing a show, a theater called the Citadel Theater there, and we were making a comedy. And we were at the point of rehearsal where we had just done all of our tech work. We had moved the show onto a stage. The lights were done, the costumes, everything was set. And we were going to do a dress rehearsal the next day. And we were called into the theater and we were told, hey, this thing COVID is getting beyond out of our control. We're shutting the country down. Like, you're all going home tomorrow. And we were like, okay. And then they were like, but we really want to make sure we do this show at least once in its entirety. You guys have been working on this for a month now. Like, we want to make sure we get it done. So we did the show once for archival purposes. They filmed it and they brought in a lot of artists from the Edmonton theater community to watch it. And it was like a real turning point for me because I realized art is not what an artist makes and puts out. Art is what an artist makes and puts out and where it's met by the audience. So it's really something that exists between the artist and the audience's imagination. That's what makes it unobjective. That's what makes it like biased so often, because it's like, what are you tapping into in someone else's imagination as an artist so that you make this thing in the middle that changes, especially in theater, it changes on an evening to evening basis. So on stage, oftentimes a joke will land with 50% of the audiences and it won't land with the other 50. Well, why is that? You could do the exact same thing, but it might just be that that audience has this experience and this audience does not. So I'm constantly being surprised and curious about what that is. And I think there are certain universal things that we all latch onto and we think about them in different ways, but we all can kind of understand and appreciate them in a certain way.
Yeah. I think you just did a lovely job describing what a relationship is. You kind
Mhm.
of give and take, and you don't always know. And whether, human relationships, these things sort of happen all the time too. People that we love or people that we meet, coworkers, friends, all these people on the street, someone that barely knows you gives you so much praise. And then people that know you so well are like, oh, that kind of sucked. It's like, it's always interesting how, like you said, these sorts of conversations or experiences land. And I think that's the joy if we can go through this world not expecting that we know or that to assume. Because I also think
Mhm.
that takes away the creativity too. If you already know how something's going to go down, then
Yeah.
like where's the fun? Is to me, I would think the process in the back and everything you guys are doing is the magic. And
Yeah.
we see the finished product, which is great and we love it. But what you guys are doing in the background to get to that place, I would think, that's my opinion, is where a lot of growth, a lot of stretching, a lot of sorts of
Yeah.
things go
That's where
down.
the
So
rigor comes in. Like, there's
yeah.
nothing more deflating than working on something that you think is funny,
Yeah.
releasing it or doing it in front of an audience and realizing this is not funny
This is
anymore.
not funny.
And
Yeah.
you're like, well,
Yeah.
why were we all laughing at this? And it's like, then you have to kind of go back and you're like, oh, we were laughing because we made this joke on day one and we thought that was funny. So we riffed on that. But by the time we got to the point where we're presenting in front of an audience, they don't know any of that. So we kept thinking it was funny. We kept enjoying it, indulging in it. And then all of a sudden you release it and you're like, oh, no one resonates with that because we got,
Yeah.
that's the rigor of the artistic work, is like being able to cut through that stuff and go, no, 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 let's really think about what an audience is going to receive from this
Like,
from scratch without any of the context that we've placed into it.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so well said.
Yeah.
I'm going to shift gears for a second. I want to
Of
ask
course.
you this without assuming we had the same experience growing up, because I don't know that we did, and I don't think we did. For a lot of kids that are raised by immigrant parents, parents of color, and you kind of tapped into this earlier on when you're talking about little Shawn growing up. There's usually this clear idea of what, like, quote unquote, a safe path is,
Yeah.
and a lot of people in our community, I mean, I can only speak as a South Asian, but I think a lot of people experience this. You sort of follow the sacrifice of your parents' obedience, a guilt, all these kinds of things, and go down a path that your parents have kind of asked you to or told you to or whatnot. So you sort of shared how you ended up, you went to school, you went to university, and then how acting came about. I just want to ask you, for those out there, because a lot of your story to me speaks to this risk that you took, the unknown world that you sort of like went into. And so for a lot of people, they want to do that, some of these risky things, like creative risky things. I'm not talking about like unsafe risky things, but there's a worry of what others are going to think, all these sorts of things. And so like I'm really curious, like what would you say to those that are listening that are like, oh well, that's different for Shawn, that's Shawn's path, that's not something that would work for me? What would you say to those people that are dying to do something creative and exciting, powerful, beautiful, but are like, I'll just keep doing my
Yeah.
everyday thing?
Yeah. I mean, the very, very short answer is just do it. Uh, I guess I would say I have to recognize that I had parents that didn't like when I brought up ideas of like, oh, I'm going to get an agent. Oh, I'm going to act in this show, or like, oh, I've got cast in this thing.
Yeah.
I know that there are a lot of parents in our community that would be like vehemently against that idea because they don't understand it. Everyone's afraid of things they don't understand. I got really lucky where I at least had parents that were like, okay, if oh, okay, that sounds nice. If that's what you want to do, I guess that's what you can try. Um, it depends what kind of artist you want to be. So assuming you're choosing an art that is something that is still being bought and received and by an audience in some way, shape, size, or form, it's never been easier to get your art out there right now. We're all finally connected in a way that is, although obedient to an algorithm, very much we have an opportunity to make something that is personal to us, that is artistic to us, and find an audience that will want that. That doesn't mean you have to give up your day job right away. I think oftentimes about what life would be like, and I'm still thinking about it. Like, what if I found something that was a little more consistent that I did on a day-to-day basis that helped pay a lot more bills and then still kept up with my artistic ambitions? Like, what would that balance look like for me? I think a lot of people can start with that balance where it's like, well, I can just do this in my spare time. I can do this when I'm feeling creative, when I'm feeling like I have a little extra burst of energy. I think at some point you start to, on a professional journey, you start to realize, oh, this is now taking over my life. And if it's taking over your life and it's also helping pay bills, and maybe you're not doing as well off as you were if you were a accountant or whatever it might be, can you live with less and still be happy with just making the art? And if it tips into that space, that's a decision for that person to make. Like I was okay with being broke. I was kind of okay with that. I have no ambitions of being like a big star. My ambitions have always just to be like a working actor. So if I can pay my bills, I can go on a trip once a year, I can eat, take care of the people around me, that's enough. And knock on wood, I have been able to do that for a fair bit of time now. But I'm also very aware how precarious that is and that may go away soon. So for those that are thinking about it, I would say start, try it, and you will feel at some point like, oh, now is the time to turn. Now is the time to like put my entire life into this. And if you're okay with living with less or giving up some of the comforts that a steady job may give you, then do it. And if you're not okay with it, that's totally fine as well. Like, I know lots of people that are like, I don't understand how you live, not understanding like paycheck to paycheck, or not paycheck to paycheck, sorry, like not being able to plan 2 years in advance sometimes. That's just it.
Yeah. So how do you manage this relationship with yourself, working in an industry, like you said, that's not a salary job. You're not guaranteed what you're going to get paid. And I would imagine there's ups and downs in there, and your value, the work you do, something wonderful at a 9 to 5 corporate job, you get a bonus at the end of the year.
It's often balance. I think it's just as I'm getting older, I'm learning that. I think when I was younger, I really wanted to do like one thing and I would just fly in that direction. And I think that's okay when you're in your 20s. But as you get older, you start to go like, I need to be able to manage several different expectations at once: financial expectations, relationship expectations, career expectations, artist expectations. But I don't really have like a secret pill on something like that. Like, I don't know. I just try and do it honestly and truthfully and hope for the best.
I appreciate that. You're genuine. See, that's what we said in the intro. You're a very down to earth, genuine person. You say it like it is. And I think what I hear in the like in betweens of our conversation too is you're process oriented. Like, you figure it out as you go too sometimes, and you don't need to know everything. And the unknown is such a big part of all of our world. And I think many of us struggle with that. And so we try to find control in all these other places in life, whether it's our relationship, our job, looking a certain way, all these kinds of things. And so I think it takes a toll on us as individuals. And I don't think we're meant to live like that, especially most of us. We don't know how and when we're going to go. And so I really appreciate in the way that you live. And I think that keeps us young. Like that keeps you young longer too, because there's this like hunger inside, I would imagine, in a bit of a different way than what you're going to get when you're going to get it, sort of thing. And that's great too. Like I'm not shading on anyone's life or whatever, but just in the way that your process, your journey is, I think there's a lot of risk taking, and I love that. I think it's really cool to be, and I'm just on the outside, right? I'm not living in your shoes of like, oh yeah, you think it's cool, try doing it, sort of thing. But I just think it's like, it's different. It's not necessarily something that we're all doing, but I think we're all somehow secretly wanting something like this. And so it's healthy in the way that it's happening. And I said a lot, and sometimes I say a lot without saying much, but I'm just trying to somehow compliment you, but I don't know if it's like coming out or what. I don't know.
I would say a lot of it is, you have to love the process of whatever you do. I think when you work like a corporate job, you can be okay with just the end result, because you can look at the end result and you can say, I work hard, whatever, it sucks, or maybe it doesn't suck. But at the end, I get this dollar figure in my bank account. I get to live a certain type of life and I get to enjoy my life. That's fantastic. That's okay to be like end goal driven in that way. But I think especially in art, and for me personally, like it can't really ever be about that, because if I'm only thinking about the end, I'm probably muddying up my process that makes the end any good. So I'm really lucky that I found at a pretty young age what I really love to do. Like I love to perform. I love to create. I'm really lucky that I found that. I started to write many years ago because I thought, oh, well, I'm not working as an actor, let me write, which is a natural path that a lot of artists go down. And I realized several years after doing that and going down that path, I realized how much more I loved acting than writing, because although I loved making stuff as a writer, I realized that I was like, I don't have the heartbeat of a writer, in that I would talk to some of my writer friends and they would be, oh, I wake up at 6 a.m. every day and I write for 3 hours before I go to work. And I'm like, I could never do that. I would never, I would wake up at 6 a.m, hit snooze and go right back to sleep. I'm like, I don't have that engine in me. But as an actor, I do have that. I can go on set for 15 hours, wake up the next morning at 5 a.m, put an audition up that takes 45 minutes, and I got to do the hair and the face and everything. You got to put it up, and then go straight to set and do another 14-hour day. Like I have that engine in me. So I'm lucky to have found that. And I think if someone in their life recognizes that they have that thing that's like, I love doing this and I can do it when I'm so tired and so bogged down with life, I can still make this work and find joy in it. That's like, just live in that space for as long as you can, because I think a lot of good things come out of there. A lot, like you've got this podcast and you've got a whole life and you do all these other things as well. But like you love this. So and this is something that keeps you up and you're thinking about it and it's exciting and you make time for it. I think it's like one of those.
100%. I absolutely relate to that. When we like kind of focus a little bit about the work you've done, and you've done quite a bit of work, pretty impressive resume there.
Okay.
What would you say you're most proud of in all, because you've done comedy, drama, sci-fi, procedural TV, like you've done a lot of things and you've produced, as you've talked about. So if you could pick one, if that's possible, where would you say, oh, I'm so proud of this piece of work?
Yeah, I'm proud of a lot of the work I've done. And I say that with as much humility as possible. I recognize that it takes a lot of work to get something up, and when it happens and it's good and you get the all the accolades or whatever that come along with it, that feels really nice. It's a really nice thing that happens for someone. I guess maybe I'll talk about something I'm currently working on that I'm quite proud of at this moment. I read a show called Witch in 2020 and I thought, wow, this is a really good play. This is a really great play, and no one had produced it in Canada. And I did a reading of it, and my wife, not my now wife, girlfriend then, saw me in it. She was like, that's a really good role for you too. And like, that's a great play. And I was like, man, I hope someone brings that play to Toronto one day and hopefully maybe I can play that role. And she was like, you can do that. What are you talking about? You have a producer brain. She's like, no one's going to do it for you. Like, you should just do it. So then began a 5-year journey on putting a team together for the play, getting the rights, funding it, and then finding a theater to present it at. And we're currently in rehearsals for that show now. So that was 5 years ago. And I sit in rehearsals and I just think like, man, it took 5 years of myself and my collaborating partner, Courtney, on this show to get it up. And good things take a long time. And I'm right now living in a situation where I'm living in something that's a good thing that took a long time to get here.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of that because there was many times where I had raised 6 figures for the project, but that wasn't enough to get the project. I needed another company to come in and do the rest. There were times where I would call Courtney and be like, I think we should just give them the money back. Like, I don't think we're going to get this thing up. We don't have enough. Even though we've raised all this cash, even though we've got a great team and we've attached a star to play the lead of the show, like we just don't. I don't think it's going to work. And we didn't give up. And whether she was about to give up or I was about to give up, the other person would be like, no, let's just keep pushing ahead. Let's just see. Oh, let's just take this one extra meeting and see what happens. So I'm really proud because it took a long time to get here. And now we're in our A1 situation, which is a big theater company in Toronto, Soul Pepper Theater, has picked it up and put it in their season. And they've basically like scooped the entire project up. They've put the rest of the cash in that needed to be put in. And they're producing the whole thing for us now. And now I just get to be an artist in it, which is really nice.
So cool.
Yeah. So
no, go. I don't
yeah, no, that's something I'm just really proud of because it
Yeah.
reminds me of how really good things take a long time and a lot of patience and persistence, and a good reminder that when you're in the trenches and you just feel like giving up and you're like, oh, this is never going to happen. When you don't give up and you get to see the light at the end of the tunnel, you're like, yeah, that really was worth it. Like it was all worth it. And I can say that now. At the time, I didn't feel that way, but
yeah. But that's because you can say it now because you guys stuck it through. And I think that's good character building. And it's such a good message for so many of us who show up to a museum and look at a painting and we're like, go watch a play, go watch a movie, and are like, whatever, all these kinds of things. And or we're like, we envy, we're like, oh, wow, that's just easy for you and all these sorts of things, but we don't understand the process. Again, we talked about this a few minutes ago, like what it takes to get somewhere. And I think not many also share what it took to get there too. And so I think that's a story that I hope you share more often, because there's a lot of life lessons for a lot of us in there, that you don't know other people's success and how they got to where they got to. You just got to be at the fun, good part. And it's a journey. So that's something that I would feel proud of too, if I shared a story like that.
Very enchanted by people that are effortless, I think. There's a certain charisma
looks like
that comes
they're
along
effortless too, though.
And I think people will try really hard, and myself included, to kind of curate that image sometimes. Like, oh, this was easy for me. This was easy for me to do. Sometimes it might have been. Sometimes you might have just thought of something and the next day it got greenlit and you were like, wow, that was pretty easy. But no one sees the mountain of work that takes to get to that point. Yeah. There's a saying in the film industry that's like, it takes 10 years of hard work to become an overnight success.
Yes.
Like, where'd this guy come from? And it's like, they've been working for 10 years. I think for me, it's going to be like 20 years to be an overnight success. There's like this, I don't know, we're very enchanted with that. And you want to love people that can just do it all. They just have a gift. They're naturally just gifted. But I think ultimately the people that do it well and then also stick around for a long time are working so hard behind the scenes. It's really hard to look effortless.
Yeah, I would agree. No, no, you're right. It's a good point. I want to ask you, how would I know when this play is coming out? Because like I would totally want to come and see this.
Yeah. So we open February 5th in Toronto.
Okay, in Toronto. Perfect.
Yeah, Soul Pepper Theater. It's called Witch. February 5th is opening, and we'll run for at least a month.
That's awesome. Okay, well, maybe my path will bring me out there. Yes. I would love to like see that, especially after you sharing the story of the hard work and the blood, sweat, and tears that you put in a project, and that
it's a really great play.
Yeah.
It's kind of reckoning with the idea of like, how do you move forward in a world if you have no hope that things will get better?
Oh.
And I think we all kind of live in a space, and I think right now with our climate and our socioeconomic situation and everything that's happening in the world, I think a lot of people don't have hope that things are going to get better, and we're trying to be hopeful. And it's like the show kind of begs the questions like, well, what if you just decide you don't have hope? Then what do we choose to do with our lives after that? How do we move forward? And it's very funny. It's a very dark play, and it's asks a lot of like really interesting philosophical questions.
That is very parallel, like you said, to, well, it should be all of us, but maybe all of us don't recognize it. So many of us are in that place politically,
Hmm.
families,
Of
relationships,
course.
all everything that's going on. And I think that's a great opportunity to experience it in the arts world, take a break from it. And that's what I love. Like, even when I just love the reel that sort of brought me to you was you do like really fun things, and you're like, when I look you up on IMDb, you're like a serious actor. You have all these serious things, but like comedy is like your jam. You're so good at it, and
No,
some of these
thanks.
reels are so funny. And I think it's so nice to sometimes get messages or feel validation or comfort when, yeah, you're hopeless or you're just like, this is such a dark time, but to be able to laugh as well, it kind of eases the experience that many people are going through. And
Yeah.
so I always appreciate when you can bring a funny in something that's maybe not as light. And I
Yeah.
think it takes skill to be able to do that as well.
Yeah. Laughter is, I think it's just universal. And in that, if someone laughs at something, there's something that in that is funny to them, meaning like something is truthful, something subverts expectations. There's something in it that makes you think about something in a different way. That's what
Yeah.
makes you laugh. And I think that reaction is involuntary. So if people are laughing at something that you're doing, you've made them think about something in a way, or helped them understand something in a way that maybe they didn't think of before. Yeah.
That's so true. Very true. Yeah. Cause it's like not expected at all. When it comes out, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, why is this so funny? And we all have such a different gauge of
Of
what
course. Yeah.
we find. We think we know we find it funny, but we don't know until the laughter comes. We're like, oh yeah, I
Mhm.
guess that is hilarious that thing is
Yeah.
happening over there. So, is there a role or work that you've done that stretched you the most?
Um, I would say recently I did a production of Mahabharata, which went on a world tour, and I played Yudhishthira in that, and that role stretched me a lot. It was a demanding show, so the play itself was 6 hours, so it was like it was just like physically, emotionally draining. It was two separate plays that you would oftentimes watch in the same day. So you'd come see part one, and then you'd come see part two. Um, and we basically told not the whole story, obviously, but we focused it around the Pandavas and the Kauravas and their war culminating in the Battle of Kurukshetra. And just again, like I think it was just the demand of that show wasn't just showing up and doing a play. There was like it was very physical because the show was physical. It was emotionally draining. It was just long. Like it's
Yeah.
hard to be on stage for 6 hours a day. Like and then to do it day in day out. And we did a last year we did a 6 month tour and we went to 5 different cities. So it just that really stretched me out. That gave me a lot of new tools that I need in my life that I think I'm
Mm,
really grateful to receive and happy to have gotten to have that type of challenge because I don't think I would have been able to learn that stuff unless I actually just went through it and
yeah.
was given the opportunity to go through it.
Right.
That in itself was a privilege for me.
Yeah. You speak so positive about some of these experiences and good, bad, ugly sort of situations. And I think that speaks very highly of you as well. It's like it's a learning moment as opposed to that was really crappy or what. And you talk a lot too, the appreciation of being able to give, be given some of these projects as well or earn them
Mhm.
or however you view that. And so I think 6 hours though, no matter how appreciative I would be, that's a lot.
Yeah,
Like that, and even for an audience to commit to
it's a
something
lot.
like that, right? Like that.
Yeah.
So did you have a primarily like it was all South Asians then I would imagine because of the story or
There were a lot of South Asians. I mean, we kind of, I think the show, I wasn't a creator on the show. Ravi Jain and Miriam Fernandez, who run a theater company called Why Not Theater in Toronto, they were
cool.
the creators of the show and they
Yeah.
were the centerpiece of the engine of it. Um, I think their intention was to create a show that South Asians who know the Mahabharata, South Asians that don't know the Mahabharata, and
Yeah.
then people that have no idea what it is and come from different cultures, they wanted to create something that universally could be appreciated and seen. And that's really what we were aiming for. And I think in that way, we did achieve that. So we did have a lot of South Asian audiences, which was really great to see. We had a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I only watched the cartoons back in the '90s. Like
Oh, cool.
I didn't
Yeah.
really know much about it." And then we had people that were like, "I've read it so many times, and I go to India every year to study it, and I do like people that were scholars of the text." Um,
That'd be like nerve-wracking.
It was very nerve-wracking, yeah, because it's also like in a lot of ways we're putting together scripture that is
Yeah,
considered holy. So people have like a really serious connection to it, and you don't want to ruin that or misrepresent that in any way.
that's
So
right.
there was like a lot of responsibility with that text and
Yes.
responsibility for the creators, but then also for all the actors and performers as well to carry it with grace and dignity and give something to the people that know it intimately and give something to people that have no idea what it is and just show up. A lot of times people would come and they'd be like, I can't pronounce any of the names, but I know exactly what's happening. I know
Right, right,
who's on which side and I know why they're fighting. Like I get all of that.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the most
Yeah.
satisfying things of that show was people sometimes they would just come watch the first part because they were like, oh, well, I'll just see the first part and see how it goes. And oftentimes, if you went into the lobby after the first part, there was a lineup at box office. So there were a bunch of people that were like, we need to
Oh,
see how this thing
yeah.
ends. We want to see the next
Yeah.
part. And that was always like super gratifying to watch.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like a testimonial in itself when you're like, oh, okay, we got you, we got you. And you have different generations. You have, yeah, when you're talking about something sacred like that, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of layers going on with, like you said, like the extremes of people like me who would be showing up to learn.
Mhm.
And then people that are, showing up to see what's up, but also like I could say all this with my eyes closed. I know
Yeah.
everything already. And so you're like, oh, what are you going to take from this? So that's an interesting thing
Yeah.
to leave someone with something. But that's the arts world. And I think as a community, like kudos to the people that put that on, because we are thriving as a community when arts and culture is present in the
Yeah.
way it really has been for our community and a lot of the BIPOC communities in the last little while. And I think media has a lot to do with it. Technology has a lot to do with it. You had mentioned that we have lots of spaces now to be able to do all sorts of creative things. And I think that in itself is super exciting to see what people do with that. So with that, I'm going to start wrapping up and I'm going to
Mhm.
ask you, I had like 1,000 questions, but I always say maybe I will con you into coming back again and ask the rest. And so for you, is there anything about a project or anything that you wish I'd asked or you want to go back and add to?
No, I thought that all felt really good to me. Yeah.
Good.
Nothing that comes
That's
to mind.
good.
Yeah.
And then like where do people find you if they want to reach out or they want to tell you you're doing awesome or they want to get familiar with the work you're doing? Where's the best place to get in touch with you?
I'm on Instagram. So my handle is just I am Shawn Ahmed. I just started TikTok and started posting stuff on it
Oh, cool.
with some sort of frequency recently. So you can follow me, same handle there. And I check my messages at periodically. So normally I'll see it. And that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then middle fingers up. If you were going to put your middle fingers up to something today, what would that be, sir?
I would put it up to not giving back to your community. And I don't just mean a community that shares same ethnicity or religion. I mean the people around you. I've been really grateful that a lot of people around me have supported me as I've gone through my journey of just kind of growing up and becoming an adult and a working professional. And I think it's really important, especially as we get older, to make sure we're giving that back, to make sure we're supporting the community and letting people know, like, hey, I went through that 15 years ago. Here's what I have to offer you, if they're asking, of course, not unsolicited. But I think there's lots of ways to engage with the community around you, whether it's working at a soup kitchen, working at a charity, whatever it is, showing up for your family. I think that's really important. I think we're in a world where everyone's very isolated and feels like they can do everything themselves. And
Yeah.
the more you give yourself over to the people around you, the more you get back. It's a two-way street. And I really encourage people to do that.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I know you don't need any compliments or whatever, but you're living that, right? I message you, I'm just who I am. And you gave me your time. And I think time is such a huge gift. We only have so much of it. And you were so quick to respond back. You were super pumped. I gave you like 30,000 ways out of this whole thing too. Like, oh, if you're busy, oh, it's okay. Even the other day when I confirmed, like, listen,
Yeah.
I can reschedule. And you were like, no, like, shut up in the nicest way. Like, we're on, it's all good. And so I see that too. And I think it's one thing saying it, but it's another doing it and role modeling it. And I feel that's what you're doing. So I appreciate that because I think we're all starting somewhere and some of us are further ahead in a process than others. But like you said, we are isolated and we're all humans and we do better when we come together. So today's conversation is going to inspire other people in all sorts of ways. And if not just me alone getting this time with you. So I super want to thank you for your time today and like your process, your perspective, like sharing all the things that you did. That was very generous. So thank you.
No, you're so welcome. No, it was such an easy decision. I'm really happy to do it. I do have a lot of people that reach out to me from time to time that ask me for help and advice, and if I have the bandwidth, I always try to make myself available. And I find with those things, what happens is like the people that are serious about what they're doing or serious about what they're asking, the response. You were doing all the work. I wasn't doing it. You were just like, I'll set the time. I'll send you the link invite. I'll take care of all of this stuff. Like I just had to show up, which is it's like I just had to make the actual time for it. I didn't have to do any of the thinking in between. Yeah. And if especially in that type of when you reach out to somebody for whatever you need, if you're doing most of the work, I find oftentimes people are or should be generous with that because it's good for both people. If it was like, okay, I'm thinking of doing this podcast. Do you want to be a host with me? Okay, let's like collab on some ideas. I'll be like, I don't have time to start a podcast with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like sometimes an actor will reach out to me and they'll be like, yeah, I really want to get an agent. And I'll be like, okay, cool. Do you have any experience? Like, what are you working on? And they'll be like, no, I haven't done anything. And I'm like, okay, you should take some classes. And I'd be like, where do I take classes? And it's like, now I'm doing the work. I'm like,
now I am your
available
agent.
on Google. Like, now, like, I've given you the first step is like take classes. If you message me in 6 months and you're like, I took 3 classes. Now what do? I'd be happy to respond. No one's going to do the work for you, but if someone else is doing that work, of course I want to collaborate, work with them, and meet with them, and all of that stuff. It's exciting for me.
Yeah, for sure. And likewise. So any last words? You get to end the episode with whatever you want to say at this point. So anything you want to say to anyone or whatever, this is your time now.
I would just say, first of all, thank you again for having me on. I would say life is a funny thing where right now I'm currently in a space where I'm learning how to have a certain amount of Teflon on dealing with bullshit that gets flung at me and trying to proceed from a place of kindness instead of anger. It's easy to get angry at what's going on around you, and sometimes that can lead to some really great decisions, but there has to be kindness in there somewhere. You have to be doing it for somebody in some way, shape, size, or form. And I just find that's a better way to live and a healthier way to live for my mental health, at least. So I would share that with whoever's at a crossroads.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you for coming on today, and good luck with the play. Really excited for you. So, and all your other projects. So
yeah, thank you. Really appreciate that.